I'm doing something here. I've never really gone live like this on YouTube Live. So this is the first time I'm doing this, but I want to share with you some thoughts for those of you who want to chime in, be a part of this conversation. I had somebody, a good friend of mine, somebody who's in one of our communities. She reached out to me, and she's starting a business, and she's doing fantastic. But when she reached out to me on text, she asked the question, can I start a business without capital? I was doing something else at the time, right? But I had to answer the question. I was like, flatly, no, you cannot start a business without capital. Some of you may not even be in the realm of that thought process right now. Some of you may not be on the same page as what I'm thinking about. And you might be thinking, hey, yeah, I can start a business without capital. I can just go out here and hustle and do all these other things and make sure that I get that business going. I can make sure I reach out to people, make these contacts and everything else. You know, I can start my business without capital. I don't need much. I can just grow it from nothing. And, I'm sharing this with you because I want people to get business is a language of numbers. And I was compelled. One thing I got for myself that as I was really compelled to answer her and like right then and there, because one, I really love business. I really do. I really do love business. And I know that I was put on this earth to be in this realm of business ownership and then also be with people to help them on their journeys with business ownership as I am on my journey of business ownership. So I love this, man. I'm actually where I want to be, man. I do what I do every day and I love doing it, right? So that's number one. And number two, I really do want people to have this understanding that I'm about to share with you. You don't have to take it on, but I really do want you to get something that I see for myself, and I see it really translate to business success overall when we understand certain principles inside of business, like capitalization. What is it? How does it impact my business? What does it mean for me when I'm running my business? And also how I can actually use this to operate inside of business with certainty. I'm not guessing. I'm not playing the guessing game at what I'm doing. I'm actually operating intentionally inside of business because I have this in the background of my psychology. I understand what I'm doing when it comes to capitalization, right? So yeah, when she reached out to me and asked me, can I start a business? Can I start my business without capital? And I was like, no, you cannot do that, right? You cannot do that. And one of the main reasons I'm saying that is because numbers, right? And capitalization is a part of numbers. It's a part of the business. We can't escape it. We cannot escape this formula for business. And if we actually operate within that formula, we will have a high degree of success because we're going along with the principle. So hopefully I'll be able to work this technology. I've never used YouTube Live before, but I want to share my screen with you and just go over what I mean. Okay. So capitalization is something that we can't get away from in business. Why? Because capitalization belongs on the balance sheet. It's like a capitalization formula. So typically when people think about capitalization in business, I don't know how many of you have gone and said, man, I need some working capital for my business, so I'm going to a lender to get working capital for my business, right? Now, if that's been you at any given point in time, I invite you to just share. You may not be here live with me, but I invite you to share. Like, yeah, that's been me, totally been me. And let me go ahead and share that one more time, guys. Make sure I'm doing the thing I don't want to do. Let's go. Yeah, there we go. Awesome. So I invite you to consider that, when you're doing that, when you're asking somebody like to borrow, you're borrowing money from somebody, that's not the whole story of capitalization. That's a component, but it's not the whole story. Okay. So you will absolutely need to capitalize your business to run your business. You will absolutely need to capitalize your business to run your business. And going to a lender and getting a loan is not capitalization in and of itself. It is a part of capitalization. It's not the whole thing. All right. So stay with me on this. All right. So capitalization simply is, to me, it's a balance sheet equation, right? It's a balance sheet equation. So if you're not familiar with a balance sheet, assets equal liabilities and equity. Okay. Now, I say that capitalization is a balance sheet equation because this is a story. So numbers are the language of business, and numbers tell a story. Okay. There is a number story. So to me, this number story of a balance sheet means that my assets come from someplace. Now, what are assets? Assets are money in the bank, right? Cash in the bank comes from someplace. It's people owe you money for accounts receivable. Maybe you sold some services or sold some products, and people said, "Well, I'll pay you later." So it's like an IOU. That's accounts receivable, right? It came from someplace, and I just told you where it came from. It came from a sale, right? It said I owe you for the sale. That's what that came from. It came from someplace, right? Now, the other thing is that you might buy equipment, right, for your business, and well, how did you get the equipment? It came from someplace, right? This is the equation I'm talking about. Assets, right? Assets, money in the bank, accounts receivable, other notes, equipment, buildings, anything that holds value, assets, right? That's assets, and it came from someplace. So if I'm going to say that I have a business, well, the business in and of itself exists when it materializes into assets for you. Okay, it materializes into those type of assets. I have money in the bank. I have some people that owe me receivables, right? Accounts receivable, right? And I have maybe bought a truck, or I have a piece of equipment that I'm using for this business, right? It's materialized into something asset wise. Or I may have intellectual property, right? Like patents pending. That's also an asset. Okay. It came from someplace. It didn't just appear from nowhere. It came from someplace, right? Which is why I say to her, well, no, you can't start a business without capital, because whatever is going to be in that business comes from someplace. Okay. Now, you may be thinking to yourself, well, what if I go out here and I start doing stuff and I'm already getting in business for myself? I may have nothing. I may start from nothing. And I'm just going to do hustle work. I'm going to hustle and hustle, hustle and build something for my business, right? I'm going to go door to door. I'm going to make sales. I'm going to do all this stuff to work and build my business up, right? I invite you to consider that you don't have a business until you generate that sale. I would invite you to consider that. You may be taking all these actions and all this sweat equity, which is kind of like equity, but not really in the numbers sense, right? Because if it doesn't lead to anything, then you don't have anything in the business. Okay. Now, if you do produce a sale, I invite you to consider that is also a part of capitalizing your business. Why? Because let's say you go and get a sale and there's money in the bank. Well, the money came from somewhere, right? And that the money is an asset. And if I'm looking at this equation here that we just put up, this equation that says assets equal liabilities and equity, well, what just happened there? The asset of money came from someplace. It came from your sale, which is a component of equity. Net earnings is a component of equity. Retained earnings is a component of equity. Okay. So even though you started with nothing, I invite you to consider that you actually created a capitalization structure in your business called sales to assets. Your assets came from sales. All right. So stay with me with this. Okay. And if you understand this component, now what you can do with it is like, well, now you start operating with a degree of awareness where you understand that there's everything you do has a certain level of impact to this formula, this equation for capitalization. Now you could go out there and ask for money. You could borrow money from some people and say, okay, I'll pay you back at a certain interest rate, right? You could also go and ask people to invest in your company and they can have a stake of ownership in that. That's also equity there. Now the loan that you ask for would be liability. And the people that would invest in your company for part ownership, that would be considered equity, okay, that they would gain. All of that is considered capitalization. You go out and generate a sale and you have earnings from those sales, that is also considered equity, okay? So it's inescapable is what I want to say. And this is why I was able to say with her flatly, oh no, you cannot start a business without capital. You can do a whole bunch of activities, but do you have a business yet until you have some type of capitalization to it? Do you have tangible assets that have materialized? Not yet. You may have opened up the bank account, and even if you open up the bank account, you would have had to get to the point to where you would have had to register with the Secretary of State, right? You would have had to do your articles of organization, right? You would have to pay all those fees associated with that. And the amounts that you use to pay for those fees, it came from somewhere. So you're already capitalizing your business in some way, shape, form, or fashion. Hopefully that makes sense, right? Because now I want to get into something really, really deep with you guys. Because now, if I'm looking at this equation and I'm thinking about, yeah, what Justin is saying right now, it does make some kind of sense now that I'm listening to what he's saying. Yeah, we do need to capitalize our business, and capitalization is a part of understanding the number story of your business, right? Understanding numbers in your business. So it does make some kind of sense, but how am I going to use this? What kind of sense does it make to me to go out here day to day and pay attention to this? Okay. Well, let's think about it. This is a balance sheet equation that I just gave you, right? This is also balance sheet capitalization. I'm using it right now from a balance sheet perspective. Okay. So I'm going to put that there. Balance sheet. Now, some of us hear about balance sheets a lot and they sound familiar because people ask us for those balance sheets. Like your lender may ask you for a balance sheet. Your person who's doing your taxes may ask you for a balance sheet. And you may just look at it maybe once, twice a year for yourself. You know kind of what it is. But if we're going to go to this whole concept that we're getting into, I want to move it from theory into how it's going to work for you in business and in life so that you can operate intentionally when it comes to these areas and you can always set yourself up for a win. That's going to be the intention of my next communication. Okay. Now, some of us go to doctors, right? Hopefully all of us go to doctors every once in a while and we get a health checkup. Right. And some of us look really healthy on the outside. We do. And then when we go to the doctor, we're expecting to say, okay, yeah, I look healthy. I feel good. Right. But then we start doing little checks inside of, your vitals and everything. And one of the vitals they'll do is your blood pressure. They'll take blood work and they'll do those things, and they'll check your heart rate and all those good things. They'll check your weight, like your BMI and all that good stuff. And the things that you have not done on your own, okay, they'll do that, right? And they're looking through this lens to see, okay, I'm not just going by what's showing up here in terms of what I can see tangibly. I'm going to layer deep to see really is this person healthy in front of me, because I want to have their back when it comes to health. That's what your doctor is intended to do in those situations. Okay, so they'll tell you, okay, well, blood pressure. Did you realize that your blood pressure is 150 over 100? And you'd be like, man, I feel fantastic. I feel great, but my blood pressure is like high like that. What happened? Right? All that goes on when they start looking under the lens. They say, you know what, your cholesterol is high. Look at your blood work. What? But look at me. I look fantastic. Right? And all that comes to surface at that moment in time that you would not have realized have you not gone to the doctor and they've done the checkup. Right? Now, because they're doing that, there are specific actions that you can now get to take to, well, either you're going to take the actions or you're not, right? Either you're going to do things to improve the vitals. Maybe you drink more water, drop some weight. You take medication, take supplements, whatever they're recommending, and you're going to improve the health overall based on what the doctor told you, right? But if you didn't have access to that, you could have been walking around here thinking that everything is gravy and then just drop dead on the street because you didn't know things were going on underneath it all. Okay. All right. So now you have access to choosing something by going to the doctor and seeing all these things. Stay with me on this. All right. Now we're going to transpose this because the balance sheet is just like that. It's just like that. It really is. Now, if you go look at your balance sheet and it's like, well, this company looks pretty good up front. They have a whole lot of assets. They got like $1 million in the bank. Really, really good, man. Fantastic, man. That looks awesome. They got like all these assets. Like, man, they have a whole lot of equipment that's worth a lot of money. Really good. Oh, they got accounts receivable. People owe their money, right? Awesome. They got all these. It's looking really good. Financially, they really look good on the asset side. But then, as we look a little deeper and start doing the diagnostic, we flip the script and we go on to this other side of the balance sheet and we can start looking at things more closely. Like, well, how much of these assets are actually made from what they've grown and put into the business? And if you look at it and they have more debt than they have equity, it's like, whoa, that's not really good. That's not healthy, right? And then you start looking at some key ratios, key financial ratios, and we start testing it just like your doctor will look at some ratios inside of your blood work. It's like, hold up, that's not really a healthy alignment there. Their debt to equity ratio is off. The return on equity is off. Their liquidity is off. Something's going on. It may look good on one side, but it's not really, really looking good if I take a deeper look. Okay. In this side of the equation, this liabilities and equity, which is basically debt versus equity, liabilities and equity, debt and equity, right? It gives us access to seeing something beyond what shows up on the surface level, which is why people ask for this when they're looking at your business. Okay. So it's inescapable. And this liabilities and equity side, the debt equity side, is capitalization. It's not just the loans that you take as capital. It's not just equity that you have here that is a part of capital. It is the whole. It's that capital structure. And where does that come from? How healthy is your business when it comes to that? And if you actually take a look at this, just like if you go to the doctor's office and they give you the vitals and they say, okay, this is what's so, you can actually understand what good looks like on this side of your equation of your balance sheet, the debt and equity side, and start taking specific actions to improve the health of that side. Like, okay, I need to reduce my debt load because that's not healthy. I need to increase my equity because that's more healthy. I need to make sure that I have a high return on assets because that's healthy. I need to make sure I have a high return on equity because that's healthy. Oh, my liquidity ratios, they need to go up. So let me do something to take care of that, right? And down the line, we get to look at those things and make sure that your business is working the way that it needs to work. Now, somebody like the person that talked to me, that sent a message to me about, can I start a business without capital, right? Yeah. No, you can't do that. Okay. However, there are things that you can do to inject the capital into your business. Like, what does that look like? If you're starting out from the ground up, what does it look like to inject capital in your business? Do you have savings that you can put into it? Most likely you have some type of capital structure in terms of savings. If you went out and got registered with the Secretary of State, it took you some money to do that. So that's a part of your capital structure. It's personally invested. Personal money is invested equals equity. It's equity part of your capital structure. Okay. So that's number one. You can actually not just put your own money into it. You can go out here and petition others. Say, hey, look, I'm starting a business. I'm looking for some partners. Can you help out capitalize this business for me so that we can have a great sound beginning with equity in the business? We want to start out strong equity so we can just get people to fund it. And they can be part owners of you. They can be silent partners. And you can agree on what the percentage is of the partnerships that they have in that business, right? To improve the capitalization structure of that business. You can do that as well. Go out and invite people to invest in your business. You can go out like I talked about with the guy earlier on and said, hey, look, I'm just going to go door to door and I'm going to sell my services. I'm going to get people to buy into this, right? And as they buy into it, they're paying you money for it. And now that's capitalizing. That's internal capitalization is what we call that. It's internally capitalized. It's actually self-capitalizing with sales. Okay, you can do that too. You can also go out and ask for money from lenders. Say, well, it might not necessarily be a financial institution that you're going to. It could be somebody you know, and you could ask them to borrow money. You can actually create a note and say, well, these are the terms I'm looking to pay you back with interest. People do this all the time on the stock markets, like in the major publicly traded companies. They issue bonds, and that's what a bond is. They say, okay, I'm willing to pay this amount of interest for you borrowing your money, for you giving us money. We'll pay you back this amount at a later date, right, with the interest. So people are doing that all the time. But how are you doing that with your business? How is this actually helping you move forward and create a higher level of you operating in your business? How's this to make sure that you're actually successful from month to month to month, increasing that success year after year after year in your business by understanding what capitalization truly is for your business? And when those levels go to an area that are unhealthy versus when you're keeping those capitalization levels at a really healthy level. Okay. All right. So you want to understand that and know that. And I really wanted to share this with you briefly because I feel that when we have the information and understanding and we operate intentionally inside the realm of business and any other area of life, really, then we're going to up our chances of succeeding in that area tenfold. All right. So thank you for bearing with me. If you've been here in this quick live video, hopefully you got some value out of it. I want you to go in here and use this. I want you to go out and use this to the benefit of your business. If you don't understand these concepts, get on a call with us. I'll put a link here in the video. I haven't done it yet, but I'll put a link here for you guys, for you to go ahead and schedule a financial clarity call, financial clarity conversation with me or a member of our team so that you can really get clear on how this works for you. All right. Because sometimes you just go about doing things and you're just getting through the day. But that doesn't work for forward progress. We get to step outside of that for a moment to look at what actions I can really take to drive my business forward to those levels that I really want to take it to. And this is one of those things. Capital structure, it equals longevity, like a healthy capital structure equals longevity of the business. How are you moving that in the direction that's going to be in your favor? All right. Thank you for being with me in this time together. Just randomly wanted to do a real quick live video. Never done this before. Hopefully you got some value out of it, and I will talk to you later. Thanks. Take care. Bye-bye.